Is it possible in any way that the OIA could do whatever they want and the court tell the HSA this is who you're going to accept?
Yes, it is possible. And that's why the HSA is involved in this, because they're the ones who are running the tournament that starts next week, and they're the ones who we want to include Kahuku. But the OIA is a component member, and I would be very skeptical that the state association is going to accept a team which is not certified by its home association. So that's a problem. But, you know, we're prepared to get a court order, and if the OIA doesn't agree, then they can do whatever they want. We would prefer, in fact, to solve it with the OIA and make sure that everybody's on the same playing field and that the rules and the policies and the impact of what we do is something that everybody believes is the direction in which it should go. So we'll try to make those efforts. We're willing to meet with anybody. We're hoping that the governor, even though she's outgoing, and lieutenant governor, who was himself an athlete, would play some role in helping to facilitate a solution. I haven't heard from the superintendent of schools, but a lot of this basically is in her backyard. She's a named defendant because the OIA is a state organization affiliated with the public schools. So there are lots of people who could weigh in on this and help to frame a solution. Thus far, unfortunately, none of them have. But they all have my phone number. They know how to reach me. They've got my cell phone number. We're willing to meet with anybody at any time to reach a solution. And I would hope, unlike with the furlough situation where they all sat on the sideline, that some of those people will step forward before other people get hurt.
So best case scenario for Kahuku, how quickly could this be solved?
Well, we'll take the case to court first thing Monday morning, tomorrow. We will ask that a judge be assigned. As soon as we file the papers, a judge will be assigned. We will ask for an immediate meeting with that judge, and we will then ask the judge to consider it tomorrow. And the lawyers on the other side have all been alerted that this is coming, so they know what's going on. They should be prepared, and we should be able to hopefully get a determination on a temporary restraining order either by the end of the day tomorrow or at the very latest by Tuesday. And that will enable then the parties to go forward with an understanding at least of whether or not Kahuku is going to continue to be able to play.
What if the judge is in disagreement, then what happens?
Well, if the judge is in disagreement, theoretically we can appeal it, but then the time is eaten up and then it becomes more and more difficult. You know, a lot of things that happen, a lot of times with these temporary restraining orders is you go to court and before the judge says, look, this is an extraordinary remedy, I'm being asked to fashion an equitable remedy, which basically is essentially to do the right and the fair thing. Before I stick my neck into this as a judge, why can't the parties get together and come up with a solution? And more often than not, we do. And I've been involved in probably 50 to 100 temporary restraining orders over the course of my legal career, and more often than not, the parties get together and they resolve it before the judge rules. Because if the judge rules, one party or another is going to be very unhappy and it's going to set a precedent, which then may mean that we're going to end up in protracted litigation. So my hope is that any judge who we get is going to be sympathetic and is going to say, look, why don't you guys get together and see if you can solve this? And I've done that, as I said, many times, including in situations where there have been eligibility issues regarding athletes, and we always try to resolve it in a manner that everybody can live with. And there's ample flexibility here to do that.
What if the folks in Y&I came to you and said, help us?
Well, you know, I feel for the folks in Y&I, but they played their game this weekend and they lost. And they really, at this point, don't have the same kind of expectation of being in the state tournament that Kahuku does. Kahuku already earned that position, whether it be as the first place team or the second place team. And it's through no fault of any of these kids or their families or their coaches that they are now on the outside looking in. So I feel for Y&I to the extent that as a consequence of what happened here, they have some expectation of participating. But I also feel that their expectation is not on a par with the expectation of the people from Kahuku, and that the Kahuku people have earned this position in the state championships by virtue of everything they've done over the course of the season.
This is an unfair question, but wouldn't these guys have a better shot if you were here this week?
I don't think so. I really don't think so, because I can participate by telephone, and Della will take care of this. My belief is that we can negotiate it. We can do everything we need to do, even though, you know, I'm traveling and I have other matters that I'm obligated to attend to. I fully believe, and I've explained to people that I have other obligations, but we're getting a lawsuit filed. We're getting a temporary restraining order filed. My belief is that we're setting this up with lots of opportunities for us to reach a resolution in time for it to go forward successfully. So I don't think there's any significant detriment. If I were here, I might end up just sitting on my heels waiting for some judge to decide when he or she is going to talk to us. I can just as easily talk to them over a conference call and participate that way. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
If we're unsuccessful in this, can we ask for a refund from the OIA for a season that didn't happen?
Well, I don't know what the remedies are after this. Certainly we can revisit the process, and we can see to it that this never happens to anybody else this way again. And I think the idea that this blew up on a Thursday and the game was on the Friday, and that they made this kind of a decision. Typically, when there's a controversy like this, as I said earlier, you let them play the game, and then if you later need to set aside the results, everybody at least was on notice of what the possibility is, and you do the right thing after due deliberation. There was no due deliberation here, in my view, and I think that by taking the position that this is a black and white issue, as I said earlier, they're flatly wrong. And if I had had the opportunity to address them, and if you folks had had the opportunity to address them, my sense is that the outcome could very well have been different. And for them to have acted as precipitously as they did, in my view, is unconscionable, especially when it's a bunch of adults who are basically affecting the interests and rights of kids. What do you say to kids? We're supposed to trust adults to make the right decisions, to do the just things. You know, this is a really bitter lesson. It's not the kind of lesson that I think the public schools want to send to kids. They want to handle things better and different, and they should have taken the time to do so.
I agree.
All right, thank you all.